Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Srikar.
And I'm Anish Gupta.
Now, that was more like it. We were kind of disappointed coming out of Wild Card Weekend because we didn't get that many competitive games, and we were looking forward to the divisional round, and boom, four games decided by the last play on the entire game. It was a fantastic weekend. Srikar, you're saying it might be the best weekend of playoff football you've ever seen. You guys agree with that?
I think it is. 100%.
It was fantastic.
I
haven't seen a weekend better. I haven't.
I don't know. I'd have to look back. I'd really have to look back.
I guess you can say like outside of Super Bowl weekend as well, because we've had some great Super Bowls, but
I'd have to think about it.
Like amazing games.
Yeah, I feel like every game was just jaw drop. Like I was on the edge of my seat for every one of them. But I'm just trying to look back because we've watched a lot of football. I was in awe of just maybe I love 2013 championship weekend, Niners, Seahawks, Pats, Broncos. I love that one.
That was a good one.
This one might surprise you guys, but 2014 divisional, the one where the Dez caught it. And then we saw Seahawks, Panthers. I don't know. I'm trying to
like,
think.
When's the last time, if ever, you've seen consistent greatness?
Yeah, all four.
Yeah.
They got progressively better. That's the thing too. It's not like the best one came early and the rest just couldn't live up. Like,
yeah,
Titans Bengals
got better as it went on.
Titans Bengals,
yeah, it literally went better. Like
it took a step up every time. Titans Bengals, we were like, damn, that was a good game. Like that was crazy. The Niners Packers, I feel like while it wasn't as entertaining of a game, just because like obviously the low scoring aspect playing in the weather, it was like, wow, that was a fantastic football game. Like I cannot believe the one seed just got knocked off.
It was just a bizarre game. Like
it was bizarre. Game. Yeah, you're right. It was like crazy, bizarre. That was like I would call the Rams Bucks game insane, and the Chiefs Bills game like you may have an argument that it's the best football game of all time.
You could argue it. Yeah.
Yeah. Feel like
I would say you got to put it in the same category.
Actually.
Same category as Rams and Chiefs from a couple of years ago.
Right.
Does Ravens Browns from last year go into that or not?
I think it's a step down.
I think it does.
It's been. I mean, here's what I'll say. This is why football is the greatest sport, guys. Like, I mean, it's just incredible how things. I think for me, it's always been right. Like the reason why I love it so much is that every single thing matters. Like you can literally point to specific plays in the game that just have an impact. I like for me, and I'm like a memory freak. So like I remember stuff from like, back in like 2012, certain plays that happened, or like 2014. There's so much ways for things to be iconic in football that I just think it brings, everybody together to talk about a specific like play that lasted like 3 seconds, but it could change the course of an entire season full of preparation and stuff. So I'm excited to recap some of these games.
We've definitely been spoiled too, because like you talk about the Bucks, Rams, and Bills, Chiefs, and then you go back 2 weeks to Chargers, Raiders, and it's like those are three. Like I would say will probably end up being iconic games just because of like the way that they were played, everything they meant. Fantastic games. This episode, we've got a lot of stuff for you guys today. We're going to break down the 4 divisional games, and we're going to get into analyzing the 2 conference championship games that are coming this weekend. Not going to do picks quite yet. We'll get into that later. It's a little early in the week. We're recording this on Monday. Wanted to get the episode out early to you guys after being a little bit late last week. Let's go in reverse order though, because we said that each game got better. Let's start with the best one, Bills Chiefs. We've talked about this for about, I'd say 15 to 20 minutes before getting on the call to do the podcast. The NFL needs to change the overtime rules. We're probably going to end up rehashing the same conversation, but for the sake of the viewer, I strongly believe that the NFL needs to change the overtime rules. I would not go as far as to say it's the reason that the Bills lost the game, but I still don't think that's justification that the rules aren't wrong. And you guys can share your own opinions, but I think that rules need to be changed.
I definitely think it's fair to think that way. And I'm not going to dive into it too much when I talk about this game because I'm pretty indifferent. I'm leaning towards the side of, keep the rules. This is just the way it's been. And this is like 1 or 2 games, if you include the 2018 AFC chip, out of a lot of games that have gone to overtime. It's a pretty small sample size. I don't think it's convincing enough to really implement a change, but I can understand why you'd be, agitated about it. I mean, it's what it is, but I got to watch this game with some Buffalo Bills fans, and my God, I saw the emotions that this sport brings like firsthand by not even rooting for my team. And it was one of the best football experiences I've ever had. Those last 2 minutes, 25 points scored in those final 2 minutes? That's absurd. And then obviously Patrick Mahomes, 2 plays, 10 seconds, and he got down the field. And I think it was like 44 yards. That is just absurd. That is something that only Mahomes can do, in my opinion. It's just one of a kind, and it just showed his greatness right there. But for Kansas City fans, definitely elating. For Buffalo fans, it's very defeating. It's an all-time loss for these guys, and it hurts a lot. And it's just, this is football. You get those high moments, you get these low moments, and you get to see it all in one game. But I think this game definitely is going to go down as very iconic, mainly because of what Allen and Mahomes did. This was one of the greatest games I've ever seen in terms of quarterback play. Just perfect throws left and right. We got to see some deep balls, some tight throws into tough spots. It was perfect. And, there were no missed throws, like none. It was just a perfect game, no turnovers. It was awesome. It was awesome. And a national audience got to see two guys, in their primes, just playing at the peak of their abilities. It was just beautiful to watch. And, Mahomes gets another chapter in his legacy. Allen will come back next year looking for revenge. It is going to be awesome to see how this kind of factors into the Bills this offseason and what they try to do, because I think they could stand to upgrade at corner, at O-line. I want to see what direction they go in there. But look, the Chiefs advance, the Bills, a very, very long 2-hour flight. But I mean, I hope we get to see a lot more of this matchup, Allen Mahomes, in the future. And I think we should all be grateful that we got to saw this game.
Yeah, so thanks for stealing a little bit of my argument for the overtime rules, but no, I'm kidding. So what I had said prior to when we hopped on, I just think 11. So Jack and I were talking about it. So there's been 163 games, right? And I believe it was 86, 67, and whatever, how many ties. So I just don't think that's a big enough percentage for the, for the.
And that's, by the way, that's 86. What was 86, 67, and however many ties.
Yeah.
The team that won the coin toss won the game.
Yeah, had the 86 wins.
Since these rules have been, since I believe it's since
touchdown wins it.
Was that the one that was? That was 10 years ago. So yeah.
Damn, I feel like that's a lot. Yeah. So 163 have gone to overtime since then. Yeah. So, but even then, I still think that's not, I think, enough of a percentage, because I think that's still around like 57%, 56. So I just don't think, for me, that's enough to vault a big change, but I do agree with Jack. Jack and I did come up with or agree on a solution type of thing, or just an idea, is that, or maybe if you don't mind, I take it away. It's like, if the person who does the coin toss before the game, right, if they elect to defer, right, so they get the ball in the second half, then the team who receives the first half will also receive an overtime. So it goes first half, right? Second half. So first half home team, let's say they receive first half home team, second half away team, and then overtime would be the home team. I feel like that would be a potential thing, which would lead to a lot of, final drive, decisions, right? Rather to just tie it with, like 30 seconds left, or go for the win because the other team's going to get it back in overtime. A lot of scenarios with that. That's just an idea. But to recap the Bills Chiefs game, I mean, I'm just going to talk from a Josh Allen fan perspective, because, since the pods come out, I've always, it's been like Carson Wentz 1A, Josh 1B. I just don't talk about him as much because everyone now knows him as good. But since he's in the playoffs now, I get a chance to talk about him a lot. Just to see how far he's come is just incredible to me. I think this is the most perfect postseason I've ever seen a QB play. At least in 2 games. I mean, every play they needed him to make, he made it. That's what made me fall in love with Josh Allen. He's a playmaker. And that 4th and 13, I was like, my friend was literally about to he was like, all right, this game's about to be over. And he has a wide open Gabriel Davis. He just makes a play. The third, I think it was the 4th and 6 too. Or 4th and 3. There was a 4th down before that. And he's getting pressured by 2 guys, runs all the way, about maybe 12 yards back, and then sweeps forward for a first down. I mean, he's the epitome of a franchise guy. And it really hurts to see him, lose like this. And I think the NFL is all about narratives. And I think the Chiefs, said, hey, we're still the big brother in the AFC. This was the one hump the Bills had to overcome. I think if they had, beaten the Chiefs here, I think they were a lock for a Super Bowl appearance. This is the second time in a row the Chiefs have eliminated them, right? Same kind of style, just, at Arrowhead. I feel like the Bills know they need to get Kansas City at home. I think that's probably what they're thinking going into next season. That's what I'm going to be thinking for the next season. I can talk about Mahomes, 13 seconds. First of all, for me, I'm a very, how do I say this? Schematically driven person, especially when I watch. I love looking at sets, formations, what happened during the play. And I was incredibly pissed off when Travis Kelce motioned, had a little sidestep. I was like, all right, this is a seam route over the middle. This is what Andy Reid likes to do. And I'm just like, why would the corner, okay, I think it was the DB, or I think it was a corner, I'm pretty sure. Why would you move outside? Why would you take the outside leverage? You can let them go out of bounds. Like, you can let them take a little out. You just can't let them go up over the middle. That's what made me so mad. The fact that he shifts, like, that is not the play call, right? So the corner moved as Kelce moved, and he took an outside cut because I'm guessing in his head he was thinking Kelce's going to go outside. That really made me mad. But, kudos to them because they had an extra play too. And Mahomes and Kelce's just chemistry is unmatched. But I'll pass it over to Jack. I guess that's, my final touches. Chiefs, big brother here. Allen, I can't, I just can't stress enough how proud I am to see, how good he is. And these are the two best QBs in the AFC. No doubt. I don't even, you can argue Herbert's more potential, but not right now.
I love Herbert. I don't think he has more potential than either of those guys. I mean, and the reason, you're right, the reason that I said the overtime rules are not the reason that the Bills lost is because they had a chance. They took the lead. All they had to do was not allow any points, or they didn't have to allow, a field goal or a touchdown. They had 13 seconds, the entire field. And we can go back, and we talked about this before too, to the decision before that 13 seconds even happened. They decided to kick the ball out of the back of the end zone. Anish, I know you disagree that, that was the right decision and you believe. I don't understand why they didn't squib, or at the same time trying to pin it, drop it in the pocket, golf tee shot, drop it right there in a little square at the 5-yard line. And I know with the Chiefs, you're always risking them, taking one to the house or even further. You saw Tyreek Hill do that with a punt, but you're at least taking 4 or 5 seconds off the clock. If you're able to get it to an up man, they've got to get the ball, get down. You're taking a couple seconds. And I told Anish this, and I'll repeat it again. I would rather them have 8 seconds or so from the 35 than 13 seconds from the 20, because they've got Tyreek Hill. They have Travis Kelce. I think that it's probably more inevitable the Chiefs.
Wait, Jack, how many timeouts did they have? I don't know if you remember.
How many did the Chiefs have?
Yeah. Did they have? I think they had 2, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So, okay. That's why I was, in my opinion, I was more confident in the fact that giving them a start at the 25 is better than a start at the 35 with the timeouts, because then you can throw over the middle, right?
Yeah,
that was my problem.
You have one play. If you have 8 seconds on the clock, you have one play and then field goal. You don't have 2. There's no chance you have 2.
Yeah, I know. So, and even with the 13 seconds, I guess for me, I always look at it as a play takes 6 seconds. A good pass play will take 6 seconds. So I thought they had 2, right? So, I mean, 2 plays from the 25 versus, I feel like you could still get, with 8 seconds, you could still get a play and get a second chance for, a field goal. But for me, I mean, I'm thinking this is the best, you got to be thinking too, right? This is, I know it's Mahomes and I know this is, the Chiefs, but this was the best defense all year statistically.
There's no way you were thinking that, though, as the game went to overtime. There's no way you were thinking, I really like the Buffalo Bills defense's chance in this one. There's no chance you were thinking that. I guarantee you, I was thinking the same thing. Whichever offense gets the ball is going to win.
The 13 seconds I was. Because you got to be thinking in your head as a defense, right? You want to be in that situation. You're just thinking to yourself, okay, 2 plays, that's it. We've had a season of prep just to come down to 2 plays, and as a defense, we're being asked to make that.
But it's just I know that's
a mental mistake too.
Yeah, see that, and I think that's why the Bills just got dotted up on overtime. That was not humiliating, but a morale loss, because in 2 plays, you as a defense that had all the ranks that it did, because you obviously look at that, right? You're thinking to yourself as a defense, look at our pedigree, look at what we've come into with. And for them to just do that, because this is I've never seen this, not in this type of time, in this way, right? We've seen the Minneapolis Miracle, but 13 seconds to get a field goal like that, just methodically down the middle, that's a, how do I say this, historically bad defensive look for a team that just had, all the momentum going in defensively.
Right, but you could also argue that it was an amazing offensive look.
Of course. It goes both ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, like you
Mahomes,
said earlier, that's something only Mahomes can do. But with the seam route that wide open, half the quarterbacks in the league.
Brady's making that. Like, I feel like schematically, the Chiefs also are just, on another level.
Which is why you give them less time to be able to score.
I feel like it goes. There's so many things that could have happened. I feel like we've covered so many different scenarios. But I do also want to talk about one more thing too, just like maybe in a preview. But the way Andy Reid can run spread options is just incredible. Like the motions, flats with these type of receivers. Like this is not just something because of the players they have. It's because of the scheme they've built. Like there's a reason why Mecole Hardman, Byron Pringle, however you say it. However you say it, I keep forgetting. I had a mix up with his name a few weeks ago, but Pringle, Mecole Hardman, and Tyreek Hill, Jerick McKinnon, like these are all guys who are just yak and fast. Like that is what they've surrounded the team with. So it's not like this is something that Andy Reid has constructed. Even he had this in Philly too. So it's not like this is something new. But I think kudos to both teams.
Yeah, I think a couple more things to touch on because we've talked a lot about the Chiefs, talked a lot about decision making. We talked about like the full game. One of the reasons I picked the Bills is like if you remember at the end of last year, when the Bills lost to the Chiefs, the picture of Stephon Diggs standing, watching them celebrate. That was one of the reasons I picked the Bills. I'm like Stephon Diggs
all for 3 catches and 7 yards.
Well, no, he was not the one to do it. It was Gabe Davis. 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. Let's talk about Gabriel Davis a little bit. He deserves his respect.
Oh, of course. I'm just going to say okay, I don't know why, this is a reason why the NFL is so narrative driven. Like I've heard about this picture for the last 2 weeks. I heard about this picture for 2 months after it was taken. And everyone's like, okay, the Bills are coming out for blood next year. And they're like, even throughout the season, they were like, they're going to get to this point. Like that, I feel like for that, that's just added pressure. And obviously, and first also they bracketed Stephon Diggs a lot, which is why Gabe Davis got a lot of single covers. Like if you look at the touchdown pass, Stephon got so much attention on the right. Gabe had one move that he had to make which he did to perfection. I'm not going to take away any credit from this because this is probably the greatest playoff performance from a receiver since Larry Fitzgerald in 2008. So I can't take away any credit or anything from him, but for Stephon Diggs, for people who want to slander this guy, no, not going to tolerate it. He's still, even when receivers, this is what people need to realize. Even when big time receivers have bad games, they still contribute in their own way. So,
and he had the 2-point conversion,
which was a sensational catch.
That was a great catch. Yeah.
Agreed. And that still put him up 3, right? Like if they weren't up 3, Mahomes would have won it off the field goal.
Do we think Stephon Diggs had that same picture again? I haven't seen it. Do you think he was still out there for the celebration?
He's not.
I was just so sad looking at Allen's face when the game was over. I was just like, man.
That's going to be
shout out to Mahomes.
That's going to be your narrative.
Shout out to Mahomes for running and shout out to Mahomes for running and meeting with Allen though. That was good sportsmanship there.
It's just an absolutely
oh my
fantastic.
God. You guys, don't worry. I'm always going to root for Josh, but next year, hey, there's a team in Northeast Ohio that you got to watch out for.
I love how you didn't say Ohio because then I could have said the Bengals, but
I think they could be potential Super Bowl contenders.
I think the Browns are probably Super Bowl favorites for next year. Is exactly.
Don't even start.
I'd go out and say they're gonna win it. I mean,
you know what? I might join you on that.
Yeah. Don't even do that.
Make a ballot right now. Make a bet. Let's go make a bet. Yeah. Let's move on to the next game. We spent a lot of time on Bills Chiefs, but I think that's going to dominate the NFL for the next year. That was one of the best games we've ever seen.
This rivalry,
Rams Bucks was not that far off. I did not think that could be topped. 27-3, the Rams were up. They started perfectly. I sent text to the chat saying, "Geez, I'm glad I took the Rams." And you started to kind of get that realization that it was always in the back of your head. They're playing against Tom Brady. You can't say that quite yet. And then it started to kind of creep, and you're like, okay, the Rams just need to keep moving the ball. And then they fumbled once. And then they fumbled again. And by the end of it, they had fumbled 4 times. The game was tied. And Matt Stafford had 40 seconds to get them into field goal range. He did it. Cooper Kupp did it. They ended up being the 3rd game of the week at that point to be won on the last second field goal. Even after Matt Gay had missed a short 47-yard field goal, which I still don't understand.
How? If
I know he was injured.
Plus, I get it.
How do you send
he was injured during pregame, but okay. Yeah, I mean,
when do you ever see them missing
Suckup missed one too.
47?
Suckup missed one too from it wasn't that far. It was, I think, also a 48-yarder.
But did he miss it short?
Did he miss short though?
Yeah, no, he wasn't short.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
No, but that's, I mean, Cooper Kupp did it. Stafford to Kupp to win the game, and Tom Brady, came just that little bit short. Because if they had gotten the ball in overtime, actually, that I'm very glad the game didn't go to overtime, because we probably would have had the exact same thing. I think either team would have scored. But Brady did not do it this time. It could be his last game in a Buccaneers uniform. Could be his last game in the NFL in general. So I don't know. Thoughts on this game, because it was a crazy one too.
Brady
let me go first.
Close.
Wait, let me go first on this one. I want to shut down the whole Brady retiring thing.
Yeah,
right
okay,
that's what I was going to
for
get
now.
into.
Like, okay, I don't know where this has come from. All of a sudden, it's been tackling the NFL media for the last 3 days. Where the hell has this been coming from? Just because he said he's uncertain, he's been saying he's uncertain since 2019.
He's media trained. You never give them a direct answer.
Obviously, yeah. Even Manning said give it a month. Like, okay, Manning was kind of obvious just because of the way it happened. But for Brady, like, this dude is coming off one of his best seasons ever.
This guy, and they're going to be good next year.
Third most passing yards in NFL history. Like,
I think he's at the record for most completions in a season.
Yep, most. Yeah, so he led the league in completions. I don't know if it was most ever. I might have been, but
I think I heard him say that on the broadcast.
Yeah, whatever it is, like, this guy had an amazing season, and for them to, and he didn't even have he had a bad first half. I agree, but the second half, I mean, like, I can go on and on about the injuries the Bucs had to deal with. I mean, they lost 2 receivers during the game. Okay, they already were missing Godwin and AB. Scotty had been dealing with the heel injury throughout his season, so it's like they were decimated by, like, I think another guy got a concussion, or like I think it was a receiver, but like they had gotten to a point where Cameron Brate was the slot guy, so it was bad. But I mean, to go into the game, I mean, I'm gonna shout out Cooper Kupp. I had each and every game, I have a player that I just immensely love in all 4 matchups. And Cooper Kupp, first of all, I hate the graphic that they did that said Odell and Kupp combined for 252. It was all Kupp. He had 183 of them. And yes, he fumbled. First fumble of the year, I believe. But the play was just, that was all him. Like, first of all, like, the 0 blitz, it was all him, and it was also the mistake on the defense. I'll break it down.
Winfield, really, I mean, that's like one of the only mistakes he's made all year.
Yeah, so it's a 0 blitz. It's called a bomb blitz. That's what Todd Bowles did. And the 2 linebackers, David and Devin White, didn't actually blitz. Like, they didn't rush with the guys at the right time. So it wasn't actually the blitz that they wanted. And since they didn't have anybody in the back end, you basically didn't blitz them properly, and you gave him enough time with no help in the back.
There was still pressure though. Like
there was
an immense amount of pressure. I think it's on Winfield. I mean, you're supposed to play off at that point. Like, you keep it in front of you. It's the number one rule.
I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the call.
But in a bomb blitz, the safety actually isn't like, it's supposed to be man coverage down one way. So it's press up. And if it's a bomb blitz, Winfield actually eventually should have pressed up too. But since David and Levante did not, then Winfield was like, oh shoot, okay, I got to play back too. So I think this was a mistake with the linebackers. But
even then, like, if they still did blitz correctly, Winfield is coming too far.
He was still way up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still way, like, he bit on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, but narrative wise too, everyone's going to talk about it, right? This is why you go for Stafford. This is why you take a big swing on a quarterback who had never, played in a home playoff game, who had never, sniffed this type of attention. But he beat Tom Brady and outplayed him, right, at his building. And that was one of the sweetest throws, when he needed it, when they needed it the most. Stafford came through. That's what he has been doing all year in the fourth quarter. Incredible from LA, and all the swings they did. Von Miller stripped Brady, right? They had he just owns him, honestly. Like, I don't know why every time Von Miller plays him, he goes crazy. But this is big for the Rams, because now they can consistently say, like, they've arrived. Like, they are now the big brother in the NFC right now. I think they are. We're good to picks. Calm down. But this was what everyone was waiting for from LA, right? I think we all kind of expected them to match up with Tampa Bay throughout, just because of how the 1 seed looked, right? So for them to win this game, as they beat them twice, right? As I said, it's very hard to beat a good team twice, and they did. So kudos to Sean McVay, who's a heck of a coach. and a heck of a play caller, who almost blew a lead, but that was, I think, turnover driven. I'll let you guys take over.
Yeah, as far as Brady retiring, I know Anish touched on it, but I don't see it happening. I think the Bucs are going to be a great team next year. The NFC South is still weak, so I mean they're going to take advantage. And again, he's coming off a season where he had 5,000 plus yards, 40 plus touchdowns. He still has 1 year left on his deal with the Bucs. I can't see him retiring, but the Rams, man.
He's done on the deal.
No, he has 1 year. He has 1 year
50,
left,
right?
No, Brady's not a free agent.
He's not a free agent.
The best free agent quarterbacks are Teddy Bridgewater and Jameis Winston this year.
Didn't he sign a 2-year 50 with Tampa 2 years ago, 2020? Or am I?
I think it was.
He might have been extended. He might have extended it.
Yeah, because I know he has 1 year.
I think by a year, maybe before the season.
He has a year and 25 mil left.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
But as far as the Rams, I mean, it was a meltdown, and right up until Matthew Stafford just came to the rescue and saved it. Also, Cooper Kupp, and obviously the 3 fumbles. We had Cooper Kupp. We had the snap that went by Stafford's head, which was, well, what was that? And then obviously Cam Akers lost it, and
twice.
About 2.5 minutes left in that game. Second playoff win for Stafford. It's his first on the road, so kudos to Matt Stafford. He's in the NFC. And for the Rams, I think their fans could see this in 2 different ways. And one, it's that they fell apart against a Bucs team that was injured, that was overwhelmed up until that point, and that had no business being that much of a live dog in the fourth quarter. Or you could look at it this way, in that Los Angeles had a nightmare game, but they were able to pull through, and that's something that's actually going to make them stronger heading into the NFC Championship. So I think you can look at it 2 ways. And we're going to find out soon which side it is, because this is a tough matchup for them, going up against a guy named Kyle Shanahan, who they lost to 6 straight times.
Stop it. Whatever.
It's going to be a tough one. We'll get into it in a bit, but who knows? I mean, I kudos to the Rams for getting this far, but who knows?
Yeah, I think I would lean towards the latter half. Like that's a nightmare game that the Rams survived. And I think it's not like very indicative of the level of team they are, because fumbles and like bad snaps and all that stuff are not like, I don't think they tell you a lot about a team. I think they're just not flukes, because you obviously have control over them, but they're not repetitive. Like they don't seem to kind of come around as often, as multiple games. So I think it's like, they survived the game with 4 fumbles. Imagine a game like a normal game where they're only fumbling maybe 1 time throughout the game. And I would argue that, like, I know we talked about Bills Chiefs were just like 2 machines playing football, but I think like in that first half at their peak, the Rams were the most impressive team of the weekend.
Like, can we talk about their O-line and their defensive line?
How about the defense has been fantastic.
First, I was so impressed. I was asking Srikar about, and the guys that was just one play I noticed, but like when on Brady's pick, when Floyd moves inside, they know that interior pressure gets to Brady. That's how you beat him, not through the sides, because you can just so quick. You have to get through him through the front, and they didn't. Jensen was hurt. Wirfs wasn't there. They knew they had to attack the middle, right? And I think Donald had a really solid game opening lanes for, his other guys. And then for the Rams O-line to go in there without Whitworth, who is their leader, and to play they played a really good game. I thought they played, aside from the bot.
Nopun held up perfectly fine. Like
really good. Yeah. And Rob Havenstein, probably his best game as a Ram. I thought, him against Shaq Barrett was incredible to see.
I didn't hear his name at all.
Yeah.
The game was won by the trenches.
Yeah.
That's where the game was won, by the trenches. Oh, and number 10 had a pretty big say in that, but.
Yeah, that's true. And the Rams secondary, I mean, outside of the Jalen Ramsey getting burnt, or not burnt, but, beat by Mike Evans on that long touchdown, the secondary played a fantastic game. Nick Scott, they were talking about him the whole game, special teamer, pick, pass breakup on Gronk. Jalen Ramsey had his moments where he played great. Darius Williams
Gronk,
had nice pass breakups. The Rams defense was, I think, has been great for both the first 2 games of the playoffs. And when they're on, they look like a Super Bowl winning team. Like they look like,
it was going to be so exciting.
I was gonna say they look like the best team in the NFL when they're playing right over these last 2 weeks. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks that, but I think they've impressed me massively. And I'm glad that I moved past my like preseason notions of the team that, Matt Stafford probably couldn't win a playoff game. All that stuff. I'm glad I moved past that because this team really improved over the the last couple weeks of the year and into the playoffs, I was pretty confident. And I think that they've been paying that off pretty well. Srikar, your Niners beat the Packers, and we were ballsy enough to pick it.
I hate you guys. This guy switched mid bid because you did.
Here's the no. It's not because it's not even because of that, because Bosa's status was still unclear. So once they cleared Bosa, I would have switched. So it doesn't even matter.
Well, I'm gonna give Jack the credit.
Sorry. At least he did end
the record still stands.
He actually had, the right pick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The record still stands. I didn't know that the Packers would be the most incompetent team I've ever met on.
Have you ever watched them in the playoffs?
Have you watched them against the Niners?
Why are they so stupid on special teams in the playoffs? This was literally
it was the whole regular season. Like the whole season they were bad on special teams.
Yeah, because there's they don't practice it enough. Like there's literally been reports on it. They literally don't practice enough on special teams. They always, with reps during the week, they don't do it enough and cost you. I mean, you're up. Sorry, I'll let Srikar go first. But
yeah. Look, before I talk about the Niners, I'm going to talk about the Packers. I feel like out of all the playoff losses we've seen from Aaron Rodgers, I feel like this is the worst one. And I feel like this is the most devastating one. Here's the thing. He has to know that this was his last best shot. And I said it during the season, his best shot at winning another ring is in Green Bay with this situation. I mean, this team was loaded. You were a number 1 seed for the second straight year. You had, the rest of the conference. You had the Bucs, who were injured, and you had the Rams with Matt Stafford, who had never won a playoff game until that point. This was your year. Like, I feel like it was clear. And obviously, this was in Lambeau, so you had home field advantage too, in the freezing temperatures, which you are used to. This is a warm weather California team going in there and out-physicaling the Packers in a game that they should have been physical from the start. It's like somehow they failed to reach the NFC Championship game. So we can't even talk about Rodgers losing in the chip. And I saw this on Twitter. Out of his 27 targets that he threw, 21 were either to Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones. He was just locked into those two the whole game. He wasn't looking at Allen Lazard. And I mean, they didn't produce because of it. They had that one opening drive that was scripted very well. And after that, nothing. And credit to D'Amico Ryans too. That was a masterclass. That is one of the best defensive performances I've seen all season. I mean, what more could you want out of that? It was perfect. And when that defense needed to step up, it did. And they held Rodgers to one of his worst playoff games ever. And it's crazy because once we doubled Adams, it felt like he was just taken out of the game. And obviously I wanted that from the start. But the way that D'Amico Ryans is just able to adjust in game, I'd argue is better than what Saleh was doing. And I argue that it was really
back end. Mm-hmm.
I think Saleh's whole mentality was all gas, no brakes. Mm-hmm. I talked about this with Anish a little bit.
Yeah.
That doesn't work when you're going up against mobile QBs. Against any type of QB now, I'm confident that D'Amico Ryans has a game plan. And if it doesn't go according to plan, he's going to switch it on the fly and it's going to work. I'm that confident in him now. And I think he definitely deserves a head coaching job. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays with the Niners as a coordinator for another year and really, because it's one and done. So it might be a little bit weird. But look, he is a hell of a coordinator. I got to give it up to him. I got to give it up to Kyle Shanahan too. It was a very bizarre game. Obviously, that 4th and 1 call I wasn't a fan of at all. But man, he has us back in the NFC Championship. I can't be more grateful for that guy. And he just knows how to win. He knows. For the Packers, this is going to be a very, 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 very interesting offseason. They're $40 million over the cap. And if you look at the free agents they have, Rasul Douglas, Jair Alexander, Devondre Campbell, Robert Tonyan, Devontae Adams. I think they're going to cut Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith because that's going to save them a lot of money. Randall Cobb is gone. So that's about, I'd say, like 30 to 35 mil that they're going to save. And that'll maybe put them in less of a hole. But Green Bay, I think, barring an incredible draft class, they are going to be a lesser team in 2022. Which raises the question, does Rodgers want to stick around? And he said he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. But, with what we're looking at, there is going to be a serious cap crunch. He's not going to want to be there. And I think Green Bay, when do you play Jordan Love? Because he's entering his 3rd year on this rookie deal. if he's not playing now, when are you going to play him?
Never.
Like when? And also, you got to reset financially too. So it's just so complicated. There's just a legion of questions for this Packers team and a lot for Brian Gutekunst to figure out. And I'm glad that the Niners sent this team to the pit of misery, but they are not going to be the same team next year.
Yeah, so for a Niners fan, heard a lot about the Packers in your little recap.
It's so easy to hate the Packers. It is.
Yeah, I mean, they just had more to talk about.
I guess I'll talk about the Niners here then. I mean, honestly, out of all the games, this was the one I had the most takeaways from, which is ironic. But first of all, yeah, I talked about it with Srikar about D'Amico versus Saleh. Saleh, again, focused too much on the defensive line, especially with pressure. I think D'Amico addressed better on the back end. I don't know how he'll be as a head coach yet. I'm not saying because he is a top 5 defensive coordinator. I just don't know since he's become promoted up and up really quickly.
It's weird to be one and done. It's just too much.
Same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing with Kitchens. Like Kitchens got promoted way too fast, and I just don't think he was ready for anything like that. So I just don't want that to happen to D'Amico, to get blitzed by a team that's just not that good, and he can't really focus on what he's good at, which is defense. But yeah, kudos to him because I want to talk about one play, and I'll kind of save my all the takeaways I have for maybe later, but. The biggest thing was, I think, the 3rd and 11. It was towards the end of the game. I think it was the second and last drive the Packers had. And Rodgers threw it deep to Devontae Adams. It was like a deep seam route.
Hufanga was there.
Yeah. The bracketed coverage that the Niners ran on Devontae was sensational because they ran it on him when he was on the outside and they put it on Cobb when Devontae was on the inside, because Cobb's not doing, bleep offensively on the outsides. Like he's just not beating,
and he was limited. Like that's, there's a reason he did not get targeted.
Yeah. And also, for Devontae, like, see, the problem with Aaron Rodgers, like the one thing I have with him is this, I feel like he wastes downs by just looking at Devontae always. Like I knew on that play right away. Huh? Yeah. Or, I mean, well, for Aaron Jones, the reason why he was getting so many catches was because they would just throw it to him outside the numbers because like he would get open in the flat. Like they
left one play with the busted coverage.
Yeah. That also, he got like the bulk of it off. I think it was like 75 yards or something like that. So yeah, the reason why he got open was just outside the numbers, quick routes. But for Devontae, it's like Rodgers wastes down sometimes and we overlook it because he'll hit a big play the next down. But like for that play, you had a man coverage beater on the left side with Lazard, who was wide open. Like they schemed that play open for Lazard to get there because it's a bracketed too high safety with the safety coming down on Devontae when he takes an in cut instead of going vertically up. So there was mistakes on both ends, but I'm just saying the way that the Niners played this game was perfect, like defensively. And the Packers defense was honestly really good too, to hold them to 13 points, right? And the only problem I had with the defense was the last drive. That just goes into, a quick touch on Jimmy G. He played bad, but when you need him to make the plays, what does he do, right?
And also shout out to Debo.
The 2 throws to Kittle and Debo he just makes the throw. Like this is why I've been saying, like, I just can't. I guess I'm just going to keep defending him because there's nothing for me to stand on and say, for when you guys argue with what I'm saying about him, there's just nothing for me to look over and say, well, yeah, you're right. He did sell him here. Oh, no.
Yeah, you're right. His defense is like legitimately never let up points in the playoffs when he played, like outside of the Chiefs game.
Yeah, like I know. Yeah, they got mauled in the 4th, but yeah, I got to give him credit where it's due to make these plays. And then obviously Deebo Samuel, I could go on and on and on.
He is the best weapon in football, in my opinion.
I was telling about these guys, like just to see Deebo and Kupp, 2 guys that, I used to get memed at for like talking about them all the time. Now they're like nationally recognized superstars. That's just so crazy to me. But yeah, kudos to the Niners. I certainly didn't see it coming. I was shocked in a lot of ways. But now this just gives me one of the most anticipated NFC matchups.
I'm so excited.
And I feel like it's like just just because like for me, all the narratives that I have with these 2 teams, it's like, oh my God, I'm ecstatic. But yeah, Jack, why don't you recap it real quick?
I mean, the Packers defense played perfectly and they still lost. Like that is not what we expected. I did not expect the loss to come down to the Packers offense being the reason that they lost. And I guess it's half offense, half special teams, which if you watch the regular season, the Packers special teams not good, and Talanoa Hufanga coming in for the touchdown, winning it for Niner faithful. That made me excited. But the Packers defense legitimately allowed 6 points, and they lost, and that's on Aaron Rodgers. And I think I've said it for a couple of years. Like I believe Aaron Rodgers to be overrated, not in the type of player he is, not in his talent, not in his production, but I would say he's had an overrated career. The fact that he has had, one of the best rosters in the NFC almost every single year of his career. And he does not have that much to show for it. And, the Packers had, I don't even know how many years it's been at this point with just uninterrupted elite quarterback play. And they've made, they made 2 Super Bowls or have they won 2 Super Bowls?
No, they've made 1. Oh, wait, with Favre and Rodgers? Or
Favre and Rodgers.
Favre and Rodgers, they've had 3 appearances, 2 rings.
That's it for 25 plus
30.
With 2 franchise QBs.
30 years, because Favre 92, I believe. So yeah 30 years.
30 years, and then that's all you have to show for it. You make you make the playoffs, or you make the Super Bowl 1 year out of every 10 years. That's just it's disappointing.
I'm gonna defend him. I'm gonna defend him a little bit. Like,
you're gonna defend Rodgers or the Packers?
Rodgers, a little bit, and here's why. Like, because when I'm hearing everyone say he's a fraud and all this stuff, like here's my thing, right? He's never honest. Like, I think this is the first year where he's had the collectively best roster in football. Like, there's always been a team.
You don't need the best roster to win.
You can have, yeah.
Your whole thing is the quarterback needs to play above his roster level.
That I will get. That's why I was getting to that. Like, that I will give you, right? But like, there have been games where his team has just not been there, right? Like, the Falcons had a better roster than the Packers that year, right? That was the year he ran the table after going 4-6. Like, that roster was terrible, right? Even the
right, but this is a generational talent we're talking about.
No, that's why I'm saying I cannot fault. Like, I cannot say he's out of fault. Like, this is why he will never be better.
And it's not even like they're losing in the Super Bowl. Like, it's NFC Championship getting blown out by the Packers.
This is a guy that I can't put in my Mount Rushmore right now. Like, this Super Bowl would have.
And there's people calling him the best quarterback of all time.
You could say most talented if you wanted, but
sure.
I'm
not going to talk about the talent. I'm talking about the career.
For me, I'm looking for best and greatest. And for me, that's Tom. Obviously, you guys know that. But yeah, I can't put him in my Mount Rushmore. I still got, Brady, Manning, Montana, Elway, even all for sure above him. Even Unitas for me. But I guess you can make your list however you want it. But yeah, this was a demoralizing one for him. I don't know where it goes, in the offseason, because they can franchise tag Devontae Adams. So like, if they don't want,
but then you're running into more cap casualties.
It's a big franchise tag.
That's why, I feel like we got to look at this a little bit deeper, because we've seen teams be like more than 59 million under the cap, Saints, and find a way to do it every year. So I'm gonna hold on that. But yeah, for the Niners, this is huge. Like, this. Man, this is a team, like, this core is still intact. Like, this is a pretty young core that they have, and they've got most of their cap situations under control, except Debo. Debo's going to get a historic contract, and
they're still going to.
Man, that is so awesome.
Deserves it.
They're going to be
so awesome to think about.
They're going to be basically, a Super Bowl contending team coming into next year with a rookie quarterback, and a good one.
Watch out. I can't argue against it. I can't.
Watch out. Let's move on. We got to get moving. We got to talk about quickly Bengals and Titans. We're getting to our conference.
Don't cut Jimmy G like that.
This game, it was a great one, and it ended up just getting kind of swept under the rug by the other 3 games after. But Bengals Titans, a great game. Titans played a fantastic game on defense. 9 sacks, I think it was, postseason record, and yet they still lost. Like, they played exactly the way we thought they had to in order to win. On defense, mostly. Offense, a little suspect, but they still lost, and they should have won the game. I will stand by that. They deserve to lose because of the way that they handled it at the end of the game, because of Ryan Tannehill throwing terrible interceptions. It was crazy.
Here's the thing. I'm going to say this. I have a play-by-play up of the final 2:43 left in the fourth quarter. This was tied 16-16. The time management in this game was horrible. It was shocking. It was stunning.
But are you talking about Tennessee?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, let's just go through.
Let me just wait. I know exactly what Anish is going to say. I'm going to defend Tennessee a little bit. I'm going to defend Ryan Tannehill.
But let's hear this first. So Tennessee has the ball.
Are you going to let me do it? Because I will.
No, just hear this out, and then we'll see where you go with it. So Tennessee has the ball at their own 16-yard line, 2:43 remaining. So first down, Derrick Henry runs for 3 yards. Vrabel lets it go down the 2-minute warning. And then a pass for 16 yards. Cincinnati has an injury timeout. So it's first down, 1:45 left, Titans 35-yard line. Mm-hmm. So Henry runs for no gain. They let 40 seconds go down the clock. Then they throw short across the middle for 5 yards. And then they run the play clock all the way down
to 31, I believe.
And then Tannehill throws the interception. What is that? Like,
Okay.
what? I don't understand.
Yeah, so I'll explain it. Okay, first of all, I'm going to defend Tannehill, and I'm going to defend this.
The pick was his fault. I don't want to hear it.
Okay, the first one was. That was a.
The second one was too.
Yeah.
What? No, it was not. No.
The one to end the game?
No. The second one was the Mike Hilton.
No, the third one was his fault.
That was just an
I also don't
play.
think that one was his fault. Because here, it was a tight window throw, but he threw it there. Like, that was getting caught. Eli pushed him a little bit from the back, and it got tipped up in the air.
Yes, that's what happens when there's tight coverage.
No, I get it, but that was a tight window.
Other guys around, one of them's going to pick it off.
I still first, I didn't like the call, but for what it was worth, because I think they only had 2 receivers actually going down the field on 5 yards. I still thought the throw was good enough. Like, I thought, I think he just got pushed a little bit. I guess playoff football, they don't call it. But look, the first pick, I will also say that was a bad read. Like, the very first play of the game. I love the play action, though. I thought because, with Henry coming back, the Bengals are definitely going to be on their toes. Why don't you take a play action, throw it down the field, not over the middle where Jesse Bates can undercut it like that. I didn't like that one. The second one, again, I just think schematically the Bengals had the rusher come from the right. It's like a Madden play where you have like the cover 3 and it's like one guy comes like this. Yeah. It's kind of like what they did. It was just a free rusher. Like, the Titans were, calling screen, just a bad kind of luck. The third play, again, we can go back and forth on it. I think they just could have called it better, but the time management, I think Tennessee wanted, since it was tied, they wanted the play clock to go all the way down. You didn't want to give Burrow time, right? So with 31 seconds, if they get the first down, they're going to be in Bengals territory with, I think it was 3 or 2 times. I think they had 2 timeouts. So you still had 2 timeouts. You could have stopped the clock twice. Right?
It was the time management mixed with the play calls. Like, they're running down the clock.
So the play calls were iffy, but the time management I don't disagree with, because
here's the thing.
Tennessee,
they tried to play like this weird middle ground. Yes. Like, you either try to win the game or you run the clock out.
Yeah, we talked about this on text. Yes, they were indecisive.
And if you're running the clock out, you're not throwing contested balls in between 3 defenders to Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I will agree with you. I agree with that. But I think they were right in the mindset of trying to run down the clock completely. Because that also keeps the Bengals off guard, right? Because as a defense, you're also thinking, okay, when are they going to call timeout? Are they not? Are they going to run it quick? Right? So I like
that. How could that also mess up an offense's groove?
No, but so they have to be sure about it coming into the drive. I think they were just poor execution on certain parts. And, we can talk about the Titans, like Derrick Henry just not being him. Like,
well, they committed too much to him, I think, too. I mean,
yeah,
they should have went to Foreman a lot more.
This is the 3rd game now where he's been disappointing in the playoffs. 3rd game, Chiefs.
Well, it's just because they're
Ravens
really.
Well, he wasn't healthy. He was not 100%.
No, and I think their play calling. I think their play calling, their commitment to Derrick Henry. I know Tannehill threw 3 picks, but still, like,
I don't know about the Derrick Henry being not healthy. Like, they waited a week. He got the practice and the bye.
He was still playing with like screws in his foot and metal plates. Yeah, like he was.
Yeah, I know he was playing with the metal plates. That when I heard that, I was like, okay. But like, even then, okay, give it more to Deontay Foreman, who had the 54-yard scamper. I mean, well, now I guess we can talk about the Bengals really quick, like quick transition. I mean, Joe Burrow, I love the media attention coming to him just because, again, another quarterback that I love, but I just want people to slow down a little bit. Like, please don't, overhype this man or make me think that.
I don't think they are. I mean, after watching Josh Allen and Mahomes last night, I think there's a clear division. There's some things that they can do that Burrow can't. But you know what he can do? He can overcome 9 sacks and win the game.
Yeah. So we've got, and this is my point, right? Burrow, my thing with him too, and also with Allen, right? Burrow is just a goddamn winner. He wins games, right? Like, he just does what is needed to do. That is what I love about him. He makes plays, and what Titans defense played perfectly until the final play when Jamar Chase got that corner out. That's it. That was the one mistake, and it cost them the game, which really sucks. But yeah, hats off to the Bengals. Like, for them to be a rebuilding team in this position, I mean, they were probably bottom 4 of people's power rankings, and now they're the top 4 of the entire NFL.
Yeah, they're going to be, the template. They're going to be the blueprint for GMs, ownerships moving forward. Like, you cannot roll in as a GM anymore in an interview and say, okay, here's my 3 to 4 year plan for how we're going to rebuild this franchise. No, you're rebuilding this team in 2 years. Like, you have 2 years to get us at least to the playoffs, let alone the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I will say this, though, with every single pick in the early rounds, draft this man an offensive line. Please.
Please do. Yeah. I mean, if they had lost,
I don't want Joe Burrow to be an Andrew Luck, man. I do not want to see that happen.
Yeah, I would be pissed. But yeah, I mean, especially I think the worst part was the interior. It broke down, and then the tackles were like,
I mean, it's awful.
It was bad sometimes. I really, it looked like both of these teams did not want to win the game at certain points. The play calling, I think, from both teams was really suspect. It was a weird game, but the Bengals are moving on. Let's quickly get into conference championship games. We're not going to pick them just because, I mean, it's Monday. There's still a lot of stuff that can come out, injuries and everything. We're going to learn a lot before next Sunday, or this Sunday, I guess, when the games are going to be played. So on our Instagram, whenever we put up the polls for you guys to vote, we'll also let you know who we're going with. I want to let each of you guys go around, one thing for each team going into the conference championship game, and maybe a way that you're leaning. Let's start. We just talked about the Bengals. So let's go Bengals and Chiefs. A couple things and where you're leaning.
I think for the Bengals, getting pressure on Mahomes. That is the one thing I'm looking at here. If you can get pressure on Mahomes, get the ball in Burrow's hands. He found Chase in that last game against the Chiefs. I feel like he can do it again. But for the Chiefs, I think my one key, feed your playmakers. I think you just feed your playmakers. But also, it's also a trenches thing for the Chiefs too. I know we talk about it a lot, but I feel like it's a trenches game on both sides, because if you can get pressure on Burrow, he's not going to have time, to go deep or get these shot plays. So I think those are two things that, I'd look at. In terms of like who I'm leaning towards picking, I'm not going to actually pick, but the Chiefs at Arrowhead. Oh my God. It's so tough to bet against Mahomes when he's at Arrowhead. The only quarterback that's ever beaten him in the playoffs is Tom Brady. Can Joe Burrow do it? I definitely think he can. He has the grit. He has the attitude. I mean, he can do it. But I wouldn't bet on it. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I could go again on about the trenches, but I think that's just a given now.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for the Bengals to do is run the football. Like hear me out. The best way to beat Mahomes or a good quarterback is to keep them off the field. You have to win time of possession. That is what the Bengals should do, in my opinion.
That's what the Titans tried to do against the Bengals. And you know what beat them? The fact that Burrow can throw that corner out. The fact that Jamar Chase can take it 40-something yards from his inside his own 10 on a little screen.
Sucks, but
you're not going to beat Mahomes running the ball.
No, but see, the Chiefs defense, I think, is vulnerable to that. Okay, here's how the Bengals beat them last time, right? It was purely through the pass game, right? Purely Jamar Chase. I feel like in Arrowhead, or at least, a second time with new film on them, I think the Chiefs are going to play better bracketed coverage.
Right, but then they also have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd.
Yeah. So, but I just think there's going to be less one-on-one man. Like the Chiefs know they can't win like that. I still think running the ball will give them a lot more opportunities. And then for the Chiefs, interior pressure. I think that's how you're going to get to Burrow. I mean, I know it didn't work with the Titans technically, but like that is the way you should be doing it, because what else can you do? Like, as you guys mentioned, they do have a boatload of weapons. But yeah, for the Bengals, I still think you just got to win time of possession. Like, I don't care how you do it. You can talk about the trenches, but I think time of possession is key. As to where I'm leaning, yeah, I'm leaning Chiefs. Again, very hard to beat a team twice, and the Chiefs should have won that game. There were different ways. I mean, I know you can talk about the refs, but also the holding call on Pringle's kickoff return. They would have been up 35-17. So, yeah, I'm leaning Chiefs.
My point for the Bengals is throw the ball. So it is a little contradicting. So maybe they can throw it and run it with ease. That would give them a really good chance to win, I think. But yeah, the way that they beat them in week 17 was they just out-firepowered them. They just outscored them through the air. And that is how you get, how Mahomes beat Allen this week? They just out-firepowered the Bills. I totally disagree that, running the ball is the answer, because most of the time running the ball leads to, slower drives. It's way easier to stall out if you're running the ball, or only running short. You tend to, leave some sevens on the board and, settle for three. I just think be confident. You have the weapons, air it out, because that's how you beat Mahomes. Like, the more chances you have to push it down the field and score. You need them. Like you need sevens almost every time against teams like that. I really don't think you're going to have as good of a chance to do that running the ball. For the Bucs, I think, for the Chiefs, I don't think it's as much like something they need to do, but I think it's more of like a negative for the Bengals. The one game that we've seen, like you said, the Chiefs lose in the playoffs is to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And I think the reason I picked the Bucs to actually win that game last year was their linebackers. I think that they had two of like the rangiest, rangy and, good in pass coverage. Devin White's, I think, overrated a lot in that aspect, but Levante David's one of the best. You need to have linebackers who can go side to side and who can cover to beat the Chiefs. And I just don't think I see that from the Bengals. Logan Wilson's
a stud, man.
But you need two. Like, you need two or three. They need to be consistent. Logan Wilson's had some splash plays, but hasn't been the most consistent in coverage. Because, think about it. You have to be able to guard Kelsey in the seam. You have to be able to stop the run, stop Jerick McKinnon out of the backfield, which no one can do as of now, and be able to tackle on, Tyreek Hill.
Did the Chiefs just save Jerick McKinnon for the playoffs?
Well, I don't know. You got it. Well, Jack, I'm going to disagree a little bit, not in the sense like with the linebackers. I just think, look, from what we've seen, also the way the Chiefs lose, it's actually more on Hill. Like when Hill goes off, the Chiefs like always win.
I don't think that's correlate. I don't think that's.
I think it is more correlated towards Hill than it is to Kelsey. Like we've seen.
No, I'm not saying it's all because of Kelsey. It's
like drawing double teams, I guess, and stuff.
Like you have to have linebackers that are able to take Kelsey up the seam if they need to. They have to be able to tackle on Tyreek Hill running a drag and not letting him take it 60 yards for a touchdown.
Easier said than done. Yeah. That's why I just think,
that's how they lost in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, I'm glad that the Bengals at least have playmakers that are like, I like Vaughn in the box, and I think Jesse Bates is also a stud. As you guys mentioned, Logan Wilson, like Bates has been like, last week was Bates' best game of like in a Bengals uniform in my opinion. So I just think it does come down to those two guys, Hill and Kelsey, as Srikar said, get it to the playmakers. But yeah, who are you leaning?
I'm leaning the Chiefs too. I said it last week that the Bills Chiefs game was the AFC Championship.
Oh yeah.
I trust me. I love the Bengals. I think they're a fantastic football team, but right now it's the Chiefs and the Bills were rolling. Like the Bills.
If they do
the Bills played nearly a perfect offensive.
Crazier things have happened. Joe Burrow can.
If they do it, they would be beloved by the NFL.
Yeah, by everyone.
Love that.
There's no way. Like, I don't care who made it from the NFC. Just about everyone outside of San Francisco or LA, whoever makes it, would be rooting for the Bengals.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah. Let's get to that game. I'll start us off because I went last for this one. I think for the Niners, it comes down to Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, it's gonna have to come down to Jimmy Garoppolo. He has to make those plays in those moments. He had a terrible game against the Packers. Yeah. And yet they still ended up with a win. It's crazy how that ends up working out, but it's on Jimmy Garoppolo making the plays in those moments. And the team has to withstand him not making the plays kind of in all the other moments. And his lack of upside, his lack of ability to firepower the other team. The 49ers so far playing every game with him in the playoffs have been able to supplement that except for the Super Bowl. And they came pretty close. Like, if they call the holding on Nick Bosa, if Jimmy just hits that throw to Emmanuel Sanders, the Niners did everything that you could possibly ask for to play behind him. For the Rams, I think you just have to consistently get the pressure that you've been getting. And they've done a really good job of limiting, outside of the big Mike Evans play, limiting the other team's playmakers. And I think that, you key in on Deebo Samuel, and you've got to be able to stop the run like at the clip that you have been recently, because I think we all regard Tampa Bay as the best run defense in the NFL, but the Rams have been playing like recently. They've been fantastic. It's Aaron Donald, it's Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, everyone they have on that D line and the linebackers. Everyone's been stepping up. I really think it's in the Rams defense to decide this game, and I'm leaning. I think the Rams at this point, just because I think they've consistently just shown that they're a better team. I know they have yet to beat Kyle Shanahan in 6 straight games, but I just think in the playoffs and the NFC Championship game, the talent and the ability to, play like an elite team is going to win out.
That's totally fair. I say for the Niners, establish that physical bully ball that we saw down the stretch. I think that is their key to winning this game. We saw it in the second half of that Rams game against a very, very good front that is playing out of their minds right now. If they can establish that type, a physical ball with Debo, with Mitchell, I think they have a great shot. They can out physical the Rams because the Rams are more of a finesse team, in my opinion. On defense, they're definitely physical and they can match it. But I think on offense and really on defense too with the D line, I think you got to establish that bully ball. With the Rams, I think you got to get the quick game working, because if San Francisco gets pressured, those deep shots aren't there for Stafford. And with the Cowboys game, we saw them, work the quick game and work that Niners defense. And we were saying maybe they should have tried that earlier and they would have had a better shot at winning that game. So if the Rams can get a quick game working, I think they could be very effective against this Niners defense, because our group of corners aren't that good. And it's really the pass rush that's kind of mitigating, that need for a shutdown corner. So get the quick game working for the Rams, and for the Niners, you just got to be very, very, very physical. In terms of who I'm leaning, I'm not picking against the Niners. I'm not. I can't. I just don't want to. And like I don't think it's even about mainly the record that Kyle Shanahan has against this Rams club. But look, for one, it's going to be a Niner home game. It won't be as bad as Week 18, but there's going to be
because of what the Rams did, but.
Yeah, but it's going to be a very, very strong contingent of Niner fans. There is a lot of Niner fans in LA. There's going to be people who travel. But also, as I said, I feel like we're going to out physical them. This is a finesse team, in my opinion. And I think the Niners are just going to win in a physical manner and get to the Super Bowl. It's not biased at all. I'm going to take the Niners, man.
All right. So quick keys. I think for the Niners, it's win on third down. That's like the biggest thing. That's what they did in the second half. That's the most important thing, for a football game, win on third down. For the Rams, it's beat the offensive line, push them back. The offensive line had a absolute domination in the second half in Week 18 of the Niners offensive line. So you got to push them back some way, shape, or form. And obviously, you just got to use your playmakers. Cooper Kupp, right? He had a great game. You didn't use him in overtime. I don't know why you threw it deep to Odell there. I didn't like the call. But yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. Just, it's such a tough matchup just because, of the narratives and how close they play. And the last NFC West matchup we got in the NFC Championship was 2013 Niners Seahawks. So that was a classic. Hopefully we get that again. I think maybe another touch on for the Niners too is to just time possession. I think that's key, especially in this type of atmosphere. Maybe you can argue for the Bengals Chiefs, it's different, but for this one, again, I think because it's an indoor stadium, it's, free game. It's not going to be affected by the weather. In terms of who I'm leaning, I'm actually leaning the Niners right now.
No, he's jinxing it. He's jinxing it.
I mean,
he's taking the Rams, guys.
No, I'm taking the Niners. I just think, look, psychologically, there is something there. And for Jimmy G, I just think he's going to make that play that just makes me smirk. But at the same time, get mad that Sean McVay is going to be getting out. But one of these coaches is going to make their second Super Bowl. And you know what? If Kyle Shanahan wins this game, I will come back the week after and I will say, I'll put him above. I'll put him above.
Interesting. Okay.
It's going to be a great one. I mean, this is hopefully the conference championship game is at least half of what the divisional round was, because that was a tremendous week of football. We hope you enjoyed us breaking down. We hope you enjoyed the divisional round as a whole, got to watch some of the games, be entertained. I'm sure you were. And we'll be back next week. We'll break down the conference championship game. I don't know what the plan is next week for the episode. I think we're going to break down those two games, think of something else, maybe awards,
Super
maybe
Bowl.
something else. We'll think of something. No, that's the week
2 weeks
after.
away.
2 weeks away. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you have any ideas, leave them in the comment section. You know what to do with comments, Instagram, all that stuff. But thank you guys for listening. We've been the Cold Truth Podcast, and we will see you next time.